kids are all grown and gone, and that long black ribbon don't give a damn how you feel. But we drive on, never knowing where we're going or when we'll make it home. Yes, we drive on. We're all a bunch of loners that ain't worth a damn at being alone. Yes, we drive on, never knowing where we're going or when we'll make it home. Yes, we drive on. We're all a bunch of loners that ain't worth a damn at being alone. On and on and on and on. We drive on. Yes, we drive. Drive on. Always alone.
Good evening to all of my great brothers and sisters throughout the highway and throughout the byway, all the way north to Canada, all the way south, of course, to my great home state of Florida, and to our good friends from Mexico, to all my Cubanos, saluda hermanos, to all of my fellow Baricuas, dímelo, dímelo. I can only greatly appreciate each and every single one of yous doing as hard the work among the great diligence that is needed and necessary for our great industry. JoJo Barreto coming at you live on Facebook, like I said, and I'll always say, with great appreciation and dedication for all of the great hard work that each and every single one of yous do continuously. And I can always say that how the FMCSA, on my last video, I basically called them out, and I will continue to keep calling them out. There's many reasons on why we should really be calling out and asking the hard and true questions about how the FMCSA conducts itself, how it basically just allows the fragrant petitions in which they happen to really pick and choose. And for many, it's not only just among the anti-trucking association itself that will continue to file its fragrant petitions that basically would be among their favor for, of course, the profitability of the industry of a 1933 agency among its association and organization that realistically started. Many of us know where the ATA realistically lies from and how it continues to keep lying from. So I never have a problem really calling them out. And of course, I happen to have the FMCSA's website among all the petitions that has since basically 2005. Some people have asked, well, you know, some of the ATA's petitions have been also denied as well. Yes, it's true, some, but very few, to be very fair and honest. Most among the petitions that many of us have been really fighting as well as advocating for many years and many times on what we can really try to strive for. But understand this, the way how bureaucracy is going to continue to keep playing itself out against our true fundamental right to be able to work the way that we should be able to freely work. I do apologize, but there seems to be a lot of messages that are coming out right now. It's not a big deal. I hope for everybody they will be able to really hear and understand. If there's any problems among the videoing, hey, it's Facebook. I can only appreciate the free format. I will always continue to strive among giving as much information as we realistically could. But there's also another organization out there that files for many petitions that the FMCSA continuously wants to approve as well. And of course, that's the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance. Many of us know this among the CVSA. The stickers that you would see when we pass an inspection, basically. They're a non-profit organization that originally started back in early 1980. And of course, they got more solidified, especially under the 1982 Surface Transportation Act. So, out of the years, they have become, and they have grown, and become more among an organization that have been even more solidified by the North American Free Trade Act, especially when they've allowed Canada and Mexico to be involved in making what they call the International 72-Hour Brake Check System. Many of us know this happens among every periodical point of the year. You would be surprised on how many petitions they actually file for as well, and how many of them actually get approved as well. So some of the petitions, you could say maybe it's okay, some are not. But there's been also petitions to try to be able to eliminate the half-hour break. There's been some petitions that have been filed, of course, for the extenuation of hours. There have been some petitions that have actually even been filed to try to reclassify or rename among a certain provision of rulemaking that basically the FMCSA has among their codes. Two petitions, even though the FMCSA had placed them on hold, but two petitions that many people, I'm going to annotate all of this for you all to really see this. And that way you come to the conclusion among your minds on where really our industry is absolutely going. There's actually 4 petitions that I want to be able to reiterate very clearly. 4 petitions, 2 that are great petitions and 2 not so great petitions that have been filed, unfortunately. Okay? One of the petitions, of course, as we all know, is truckernation.org's petition to be able to have an open split 10-hour break. People, I can only tell you, with every bit of honesty, give your full support for this. We need this. The reason why is we need the true flexibility. We need to bring power back in our hands, so that way we can be able to bring the financial strength among 90% of the industry of who we are back in our hands and in our favor, instead of always going in the favor of the ATA and the mega carriers themselves. And I'm free to say this. This is by my own opinion and my own accord. I fully and absolutely support truckernations.org's petition, in which they filed for in benefit of true flexibility. But now there is even a new petition that has been even filed to bring in a hour of service rule making change. The United States Transportation Alliance has actually filed for their petition directly through the FMCSA to be able to place an hour of service rule to be able to bring true flexibility back in hand for all of us that we need to realistically consider, and we need to be able to fairly review and support under public comment hearing when that comes into fruition. It's been just announced, of course, on the FMCSA's manual. I was asking a couple of the members, when will you guys be announcing for us to be able to help give support? Because you see, regardless of what organization or what group that's filed for a petition, they need all of us among the industry to be able to give true and good public comment support. We have to help each other no matter what, regardless of whether we're part of the organization or not part of the organization. Remember this. And I understand that there are questions that are involved among the petition in which they filed for. We have to also give them a fair chance to be able to reiterate on what and how their petition has been filed for. The hour of service rule, basically among the extension, among a 2-hour break, also be able to have a split among the 10-hour break rule itself. Let's be fair and give the United States Transportation Alliance their fair due. Remember, most of the members, or if not all the members, if I remember correctly, were the ones that helped bring in 10-4 in DC. 10-4 in DC was the wake up and the awareness. Remember, the shot that was heard around the entire road. Okay, I like to call it a little differently. Instead of just around the world, the shot that was heard around the entire road was brought in during the time in which, and I support every bit of 10-4 in DC from beginning to end. And if anybody wants to debate that, well, there's an icon down in the bottom. You're more than well to be able to press that button. I'll be more than happy to have you on, and we can have a fairly good discussion and debate that's needed and necessary when it comes to this. Also, tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be having a radio show like we always do on Thursday nights. Me and my brother from another mother, Mr. John Grosvenor, will be on talking about these issues among exemptions and petitions that are being filed, of course. We have to give support of those two petitions that will favor among the trucking industry. And if you want to call, and if you can't be on video, you want to hide, don't worry about it. You can call the radio show. Telephone number is 646-668-8673. You can listen online. And if you want to come on board, all you have to do is dial 1, the FUBAR American Radio Show, with absolute great appreciation and thanks to the Hammer Lane Broadcast Network, and sponsored, of course, by MyRightLoad.com. I can never be more appreciative. I gave now the two good petitions that we should be strongly supporting and helping, and of course even asking some very strong and direct questions about to really place in. Don't forget, okay, quantity is very important when it comes to public comments, but quality among the public comment itself, having supportive study on any of those public comments, is even more important. What's really sad is that the ATA, when it filed for the Denham petition through the FMCSA, and as you can see how quick that petition was absolutely approved, it only took 700 comments to have that particular petition approved. It's not even realistically a petition of exemption. It's actually a petition where the reason that the FMCSA came out with a preemption among California state law. Basically, they're trying to say that under the 1984 Act, that they have the right to be able to declare among federal regulatory to be superseded among states. The only problem is the ATA as well as the FMCSA are wrong, completely wrong, because there was a Supreme Court ruling that not even the President or even Congress can even overrule or overturn. There's going to be a lawsuit when it comes to this measure, and they deserve it. But the unfortunate and sad part about it, they're going to waste our hard-earned tax-paying money into this. And this is how flagrant the FMCSA realistically is. For many of us, we're somewhat worried about the recent study that the FMCSA under the split sleeper berth just apparently thrown right away. Sadly, they've thrown away over a $6 million study. Now, granted, I'm more than well upset of the fact that they threw away over a $6 million study paid for by our hard-earned family tax dollars, because that's the way how government realistically is. They don't care. They'll throw away our dollars, and we will have no say either way, and no accountability in either way, which is very shameful. If there is an audit among the FMCSA or any department across the board, many of us will probably not be so far shocked on how much flagrant money that they actually waste. But that's what they basically do. And that's what the shameful part really comes down to. Although they did throw away a $6 million split sleeper berth study, that may actually be of help towards truckernation.org's actual petition process. It's the way how government works, my friends. Don't ask me why, but unfortunately, it is the reason why we are actually all trying to realistically fight. It's not among the trucking issues in itself. It's just to be out the amount of the accountability. But the FMCSA basically decided that they're going to allow not only the ATA's petition to go through under the Denham, even though they basically put the middle finger right up basically on the Supreme Court, as well as they actually violated among two state Supreme Courts that have ruled, California and Arkansas, in favor of denying among the Denham addendum in itself, which is very shameful. And I called them out. But they basically stated their reason for it was because of the economic value of safety. I want you to understand that there was many groups of people that went to D.C. And they went to D.C. for the matter and the call for all of us. And some have even asked directly among where is the transparency needed among pay. Well, the FMCSA made it very clear under Section 371 of the FMCSA manual, under the CFR 49. They said, oh, we have nothing to do with pay. That has nothing to do with us. That's under the FTC, that's under the Small Business Administration, that's under the Department of Labor. We have nothing to do with that. We only basically put down what is the clarification between what is the carrier and the broker, as well as even the transporter, okay? That's basically all we do. No, just recently, they made a financial decision. I'm sorry to say it. They made a financial decision. They basically denied among the rights of individuals under the 10th Amendment of the Constitution among basically how that would actually work among pay. Now, I understand there are people that have had great questions about this, great questions on the fact of whether we would be reclassified or whether we will lose our per diem status, which is a fair question for many of us to truly ask for. But the fact of the matter comes down to this: how many of us are going to be continuously denied our true right to work among our will? How many of us are going to continue to accept the flagrancy of the way how the FMCSA would continuously actually operate itself more in favor among the ATA as well as the mega carriers? I listed about 10 exemptions that have already been posted on our social media outlets about how the FMCSA has completely denied exemptions that would have been more in favor for our industry. But do you see how fast they come up with an approval and grant of a preemption of exemption in favor for the ATA and the mega carriers itself? It seems so unlawful about the way how many of these things and many of the departments realistically work, and you would be surprised, especially how even some of the departments are not very favorable about how the FMCSA has operated, because it goes against among their status. All I can tell you is continuously be divulged among the knowledge that's needed and absolutely necessary, especially under the CFR 49, which is the green book that you have inside your trucks. Yes, it's a very hard book to read, but it's available online. And if you do not get divulged among this knowledge and see the flagrant ways of way how the Anti-Trucking Association and the mega carriers that continuously file for its petitions of exemptions and using our actual hard-earned tax dollars and continuously flagrantly wasting it every single day under their $668 million budget, they should be called for full and absolute accountability. Many of you would probably know of two petitions, one that was actually filed under the American Trucking Association and the other one that was actually filed by a private firm. This particular exemption was for speed limiters. Now, this has been placed on hold by the FMCSA. Oh my goodness, thank God for that great privilege, by the way. But this petition was actually filed back in 10/20 of 2006. The FMCSA, as of January 3rd of 2011, granted it. They granted speed limiter exemption under the ATA. Remember something, my friends, okay? Just because that's not going to be it's just basically been shelved. And many people have been talking about this. I want you to understand the things that will be upcoming against us, and if we don't look ahead, 10 steps ahead, just like the ATA and the mega carriers and all the other conglomerate corporations and coalition alliances that are trying to realistically work against our favor, then we will be behind more than anything than we could ever possibly understand. And yes, Todd Campbell, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for coming on board. Like I said, anybody that wants to come on board, more than welcome to do so. I understand the true importance among free market enterprise, but this is honestly nothing but collusion against our true and absolute free fundamental right to be able to realistically work. This is nothing but a direct collusion. And this will be annotated on top of this message for you all to see how flagrant the FMCSA will grant petitions and deny petitions, flagrantly deny those petitions towards our favor among freedom. I understand many of you have great actions and great accords, and we should support among every group and every organization that's trying to bring the true message of awareness of freedom towards our cause, and most importantly, towards our nation's economy. You see, the FMCSA had made this decision in favor for the ATA in California because they stated it for economic value of safety, even though they have made it very clear that they're not supposed to be involved among economic value. Their idea is to be a safety administrative organization. It goes to show money is above all the true root among evil of power. And once it's actually just sipped in that little glass of wine, they'll never have enough of it. They'll have to drink it by the barrel and continuously drink it by the barrel. And if they don't like what I'm saying, I don't really care. prove to me otherwise. Make the right choices. Make the right decisions for once and for all. Unfortunately, we've given Mr. Martinez 10 months, and I've held back a lot of my absolute personal criticism when it came to this. But when he made, and the FMCSA made this decision recently, they basically showed themselves to be more in line with the ATA like they have been for the past 19 years. And even before the ATA, as well as before the FMCSA came into fruition, the ATA has had its control, like I said, since 1933. And almost every one of their measures have been implemented. And you're exactly right, Kenneth. Most of the mega carriers, as well as even some of the big boys among the contributors of the ATA, have actually increased the speed among their trucks now up to 72 to 73 miles an hour. It goes to show a contradiction, because how the ELD itself is really not working for them to get to point A to point B fast enough, especially when they're stuck at 62 miles per hour. But right here on the last provision on the FMCSA's website shows that the FMCSA granted the American Trucking Association, as well as even a private firm, granted their exemption for speed limiters. Now that is on hold by the FMCSA. That doesn't stop them, whether it's 5 years from now or 7 years from now or 10 years from now, to bring that back onto the table. And being that they've already have a petition area approved, and even though that petition only goes for 5 years, think, that's all I could tell you, think very harsh about what could happen. That's all I could ever tell you. That's one of the reasons why, with the questions that I ask, and sometimes people get upset about those direct questions, but I'm sorry. I make people think, and that way they can even give better support to the organizations that are needed and necessary, especially to truckernation.org, especially to the United States Transportation Alliance, especially to whatever group or organization that you are a part of. Because understand what they have in store. What the FMCSA has done was not only violate our 10th Amendment of our constitutional right, they violated state rights. And I'm not a fan of California, believe me. But when it comes to our Constitution, we must value it by every single word. There is a process in the Constitution if they want to amend it and ratify it, or as well as even repeal it. But nobody's utilizing that because they have the agencies to control it. And the FMCSA will be placed under lawsuit for the measures in which they have done. And now it's a time on whether we should call out if they are going to truly and absolutely support, if they're going to give the fair and absolute chance for the two petitions that is a pro-trucking petition that has been brought out. I still ask this one question though. When the phase that comes in for the automatic transfer of data from your ELD to the scale house, and that phase is already in test bed right now in some states. Just because you think it's starting in California, don't think it ends in California. But think about the transmission among data, and if you are exempt, or if you utilized among a 1999 or older truck, don't think that you will not be among less of scrutiny by the DOT itself. If you come in cleared with no transmission of data, or for those of you that are making a strong and direct stance, I can more than well appreciate and understand this. And I know that some of you has already said, I've already gone through a scale house with paper. It only takes time to when the phases come into fruition. And if you don't be aware, you could be one of those brought into that scale house and served with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fines. And before you know it, you will have to actually get an ELD system put on your truck, even though as far as you are against it, as I am against it in every way, that's what will happen. And for those that I appreciate among the Cattlemen's Association, those out there that are under the exemptionary rule, it's only fair to ask this very important question. While you are under the exemption, do you think, especially when the DOT was confused with even the date and how many were actually pulled in or already served with tickets and fines and of not having an ELD compliance in their truck, you are clear until further notice. course, thanks to the FMCSA being so intuitive of informing among that. You are still cleared, but it's a thinning of the herd to make it not easier and capable for the DOT to basically bring your trucks in and to check and make sure that every single T is crossed, every single I is dotted. And that could contribute unfairly against your CSA scores. I know many, among Texas especially, that where, of course, they have been put out of business because of their CSA scores. That's the reason why I ask that great question and why I reiterate to you that you must strongly support the organizations that you're with. Give that extra support that's needed and necessary, because that is a great question. And I appreciate every single way how they filed correctly under the process and using it by law. And even though I don't agree with the fact that they have to use it under the budget reconciliation process, the law should actually sustain itself as a whole, rather than using the budget reconciliation process for politicians to come to your area and say, hey, you better give me some money if you want to keep that exemption riding. That is the unfortunate, and that is the way I asked that question directly to you. This is the reason why we need to be truly together. I understand the differences among the opinions. I especially can understand where people have among their free thought and mind. And yes, have there been victories? There have been some, and unfortunately they've been unfairly shunned. But we have to continue that strive in giving that true and absolute information and be divulged into that. Tonight's show is going to be about that, and I hope you will all join in, because we will talk more about the way how the FMCSA likes to pick winners and losers, like Obamacare itself. Remember, when it first came out to fruition, they gave flagrant exemptions out to corporations and unions to where they can continuously extend and keep their insurance plans. But we as the American people had to sustain, unfortunately, underneath Obamacare, and we're paying for that to this very day. You see, the ELD mandate is exactly like the way how Obamacare itself realistically is. And I don't mean to say it as Obamacare, but I'll call it the correct name, the Affordable Health Care Act. Yes, the mandate among the actual tax fine or provisionary law that if we have no insurance, we'll be taxed has been lifted. But unfortunately, we still have the Affordable Health Care Act that continuously increases our costs year after year. The ELD mandate will do the same exact thing, and it sustains itself the same exact way if we don't get divulged into the absolute true knowledge that's needed and necessary. Believe me, more things are going to come about against our true and absolute personal freedom. I pray and hope for many of you that will come and join among the show. I appreciate everybody that is coming on board. I hope for many of you will take into consideration of what I just said, because it's very valid and very important to ask this legal question on how many people out there are going to be, unfortunately, among the thinning of the herd, even while they're under proper exemption, or those that are making a stand, or maybe within 5 years from now, the speed limiter mandate will come back into fruition. And many of us will be unaware, unfortunately. What's even more sad is tonight I will explain even more about certain provisionary rules that the FMCSA has recently applied among those who are brand new CDL holders. It's going to be a very interesting show, and I hope for all of you will come and you will join in the discussion, because we need a true dialogue, a respectful dialogue that's needed and necessary. And for you to be informed among the issues and the way how the FMCSA, as well as the ATA, as well as the mega carriers, are continuously practicing against you. This is one of the main reasons why I say the true measure to absolutely fight for is fight for what you are worth. If they're not going to pay you the money that you absolutely deserve, let that freight sit in the dock and absolutely rot. If you want to put a true strike measure against not only the FMCSA or even the carriers or the brokers, you name it, then let that freight sit in that dock and absolutely rot until they pay you what you're absolutely worth. And believe me, I practice that each and every single day. That is one of the reasons on why you must value and not only know what you're worth, but fight for what you are truly and absolutely are worth, because every waking second, our time is coming very close to among its end. And believe me, it's not going to be an argument among the ELD or the hour rule of service. It's not going to even be an argument about the speed limiters. The next real argument is whether if we are going to truly exist. Autonomous technology is coming in very fast, and faster than what many people don't even realize. You would be surprised on the financial backing that has among this, and I'm telling you, this is one among many reasons why we must be absolutely aware. And yes, Ingrid, you're absolutely right. It would be nice, and even though Elaine Chao actually stated that in the one interview, that we are considered, at least to her accord, as skilled labor, but unfortunately, we're not defined as skilled labor by the Department of Labor. For many of you out there, I would like you all to really try to get really divulged not only into the CFR, but look into the CFR among the Department of Labor in itself. Whether they will classify us, that would be great. The only problem is we have to be very careful on what we ask for, because then if we ask for that true skilled labor classification, then we may open up the HB1 visa program, and of course those to be able to come in, and we don't know from that point, and that's all I can really say about that one. There's a lot to be said about that, but believe me, I'm going to hold back on that one because that might upset a few people in the concern about that issue. But believe me, I already personally believe that we are skilled and professional labor. Our true professionalism in itself is within us. We just have to stand ourselves up to bring it out, as we always do. Whether we don't need a government label to indicate us as being whether we're skilled or professional labor. We are skilled and professional labor. We can make that self-determination within ourselves. Yes, it would be nice to be recognized as that, but I think we can more than well recognize ourselves as brothers and sisters of the highway and help those especially. Whatever program that you may have, whatever system or company that you may actually work for, help somebody out to be able to get their financial strength back, because 90% of the industry can well overtake the pathetic 10% power of the ATA and the mega carriers themselves. We don't need government intervention or more regulation or continuously beg and plead for permission from the government to be able to bring our true professionalism and our accord back. We can bring our true free market enterprise in our hands rather than beg for the government to say, please, can you please just listen and do this? No. I always want you to understand, especially, that I respect among everybody's measures, but the truth of the matter lies within ourselves. And ourselves has always been the ones that have fixed the problems that the government has created. I can never, ever appreciate, though, what everybody is really trying to do. But please understand how much the government has created so many of the problems that we've had right now to this present day. And there's been many people that have been fighting even before the FMCSA has come into fruition. If many of you haven't read the story about the 1982 Surface Transportation Act, for instance. Read about our brothers and sisters back then. I am a 20-year veteran driver. I'm a brother and sister of the road. I don't consider myself the old school. But truth of the matter is, if you really see among a fight against not only among higher fuel taxes, which we're being faced with, by the way, when we're talking about even more weight, from 36-foot trailers to 48-foot trailers to 53-foot trailers that were implemented across the highway, and they were made to basically haul heavier weight with higher fuel taxes and not even have a chance against among the rates. And we can always never forget about deregulation in itself. Imagine if, for instance, you paid over $200,000 for an authority, and all of a sudden government deregulated the entire system, and guess what happens? Your authority went from $200,000 to only $2,000. Talk about really getting a shot in between the legs. That's what they went through back at that time. And that's what I'll continuously reiterate, how we're going to always have among a fight in this accord. But believe me, time is very valuable, because right now, the most important thing that they are concentrating on, you see, they're trying to tell us to be calm. They're trying to tell us you should ease down the rhetoric on the social media. You should give us a little bit more of a fair chance. But we already know what the game plan is realistically ahead. Within 2030 or basically 2030, I give it about 2030 to be honest, you'll start seeing trucks as if we already haven't seen trucks going across the highway by itself. But believe me, more and more of them will come. It's a matter of our own very existence. I love technology, but I like technology as a tool to man, not as something that will take over our industry itself and lose among the employment. Think about many of the truck stops and how they employ many people. They'll be out of jobs. Warehouse operations that are almost already automated as themselves. But think about how many warehouse operators. Think about the jobs among the future in itself. Are we ready to honestly just all of a sudden make this 20 to 30 year change? But they're socially conditioning our society more and more to accept this. It's very sad, but I always want you all to understand the truth, and that's where our show comes in, and we always want to help you understand where we lie. We believe in every organization. We respect every group doing everything they honestly can. But we need to get stronger on our financial power, because we are up against nearly billions of dollars of lobby against us. It's not just millions, it's billions that are up against us. And money, unfortunately, is the true presence among power in DC, especially among their great placation. So, my friends, I intend to leave you because I will have to be on my way to where I need to pick up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Yes, I spent some great quality time with my family. I can never be more appreciative enough. I want you to always understand about true measure of absolute freedom, where we always need to have among this accord. If we don't follow among those rules of what we have among our Constitution and itself, I guarantee you that many of our founding fathers will probably be rolling in their graves if they see, especially among all of the regulatory agencies that are basically flagrantly making among their own rule and law. And yes, I do understand the process. The FMCSA cannot just make their own rules. It has to be passed from Congress. The problem is, under recent, they've actually made their own rule. They defied among a court order. They defied among the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, and I'm sorry, but I intend to call them out on it. Only reason why is that I hope that they will make the right decisions for the TruckerNation.org petition and for the United States Transportation Alliance's petition, and I mean for any petition that will favor us, because we are tired of seeing the long wait measures. Some of these petitions have been sitting for years before they actually even get it through the rulemaking process in itself. But as they always seem to give flagrantly that immediate time and accord to the ATA and to the mega carriers, and they seem to always have that instant saying granted and approved towards their petition process. Believe me when I say this, don't be placated by their so-called kindness. There is a measure beyond measure of what they really will see. And I hope for many of you will look into this true, needed, and absolute freedom of what we always have and hold near and dear. We never want to be ever placated like we should, but we always want to stand our ground and fight for what we are worth. And if we bring our true financial power back in our hands, we have a better measure to fight with. That's one of the reasons why I greatly support many of the organizations, as well as the groups, as well as even companies as well. It's one of the main reasons why I support MyRightLoad.com. It's one of the reasons why I support our great entertainers who are true fighters among the industry as well, like Bill Weaver, like Taylor Barker, like Brad James, like Paul Manafort, of course, and even Tony Justice. Give support to them, because they bring a great voice that's needed and necessary for our true and absolute freedom. Always understand what we can always do together, and we need to be together, stronger among numbers. Numbers count among strength. If there is a petition process that needs to be filed, I will always encourage those to place good, professional, public comments with good study behind it. Numbers among comments count, but quality among the comment counts even more. So the United States Transportation Alliance's petition will probably come in soon. We will have a public comment hearing that we hope that will come in soon. Believe me, it's not necessarily wrong to ask questions and what they set it for, but give them the fair chance, like all the groups and organizations deserve, among that open ear. That's what the show is always a part of. I want to leave you with a great speech from one of my great heroes. And I know for many of you, you're going to say, well, he was the one responsible for deregulation. Let me be honest with you. Deregulation actually started during the Carter administration. So please, don't go that way, okay? I'm always prepared for a great debate, like I said. Call tonight on the FUBAR American Radio Show. Telephone number is 646-668-8673. If you don't want to come on live in the video, come on live through the show. I'm ready for it. Let's bring it. Put the A game on. So I will leave you with this great words from Ronald Reagan. God bless you, my friends. Always. Oh, before I leave, I always got to make sure I do that. I apologize. That was a failure. I leave you all with a great salute to our military, law enforcement, firefighters, and to our great first responders, with an absolute pledge of great appreciation and dedication to the service in which you all commit to each and every single day. God bless you, my friends. Be safe among your journeys. Be mindful of your surroundings. And always remember what is most and absolutely important above all is the mile that takes you home soon and safe to your families. Be on tonight with the show. Everybody is welcome. Like I always say, we always welcome every group, every organization. State what you believe. And we always appreciate the dedication and hard work you all do. God bless you, and good night, and be safe.
Dr. Joseph Warren, President of the Massachusetts Congress, said to his fellow Americans, "Our country is in danger, but not to be despaired of. On you depend the fortunes of America. You are to decide the important question upon which rests the happiness and the liberty of millions yet unborn. Act worthy of yourselves." Well, I believe we, the Americans of today, are ready to act worthy of ourselves. Ready to do what must be done to ensure happiness and liberty for ourselves, our children, and our children's children. From time to time, we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. We are a nation that has a government, not the other way around. And this makes us special among the nations of the earth. Our government has no power except that granted it by the people. It is made up of men and women who raise our food, patrol our streets, man our mines and factories, teach our children, keep our homes, and heal us when we're sick. Professionals, industrialists, shopkeepers, clerks, cabbies, and truck drivers. They are, in short, we the people. Their patriotism is quiet but deep. Their values sustain our national life. With the idealism and fair play which are the core of our system and our strength, we can have a strong and prosperous America at peace with itself and the world. So with all the creative energy at our command, let us begin an era of national renewal. Let us renew our determination, our courage, and our strength. And let us renew our faith and our hope. It is time for us to realize that we're too great a nation to limit ourselves to small dreams. We will again be the exemplar of freedom and a beacon of hope for those who do not now have freedom. We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free.
God bless and good night.